Welcome to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm John. We're a couple of overweight barbecue enthusiasts trying to share our love for sweet and smoky food with the world.
Thanks for hanging out with us as we talk about life, share recipes, successes, and failures that have all led to our love of cooking outdoors. Welcome everybody to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. I'm Mike. I'm here with John.
Heyo.
It's been a minute, John. What's been going on?
Man, it's been a busy week, hasn't it?
It has.
Trying to think what everything that's happened.
Yeah.
You had a big weekend.
I did.
We're going to talk about that today.
Yep, we'll talk about that.
Talk about Mike's foray into the competition circuit.
Yeah.
Come on, it wasn't that bad.
It was fine. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Hey, we moved the propane tank.
We did. Progress is being made. We have moved it from the trailer to your driveway.
Yeah, it's on dollies.
And by we, I mean you, because I was not around for this.
Well, we say me. It was it's our buddy with his skid steer.
Oh, not right on. That makes me feel a little better. I was afraid you muscled it down by yourself.
Yeah, all 900 pounds, and I mean, it had water in it.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Uh-huh.
Siphoned that off. I'm sure there's still some water in the bottom of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I did not muscle that off by myself.
And then you said you got a resurfacer.
Yeah, I thought about doing a couple of different things, trying to get it cleaned up and ready to work on.
Mm-hmm.
To include taking it down to a metal shop and having them sandblast the whole thing.
Okay. Outside and inside?
Well, you start with the outside and then maybe do the inside. We'll see what
Once
the inside.
we get into the inside.
We'll see what the inside looks like. We may decide we want to sandblast it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at Harbor Freight and they've got this rotary resurfacing tool.
Oh.
So it's like a sander on steroids.
Okay.
It's got a big drum on it that it's been sold out 2 or 3 times, and I was talking to one of the managers there and he's like, "Man, we can't keep them on the shelves. People love these things." So I was like, "Well,
interesting.
For $100 and how can you go wrong with Harbor Freight?"
Yeah.
So got that picked up, got it off the trailer. Now if I was just home.
Dude, life is so busy. I have all these plans, and then suddenly it's almost time for school to start again.
Yeah, dude, you're 3 weeks out.
Oh, don't remind me. Speaking of surfacing, I don't think we talked about this, but when we were at girls' camp, we finished your drum, and instead of painting it, we just rubbed it down.
Yeah.
With some boiled linseed oil, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, my buddy Spencer, he's really the reason I was even making one. He wanted to build one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, if you're going to do one, I might as well do one.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it all cleaned up, and we burned it off, and most of the paint, most of the paint had come off when we burned it out.
Mm-hmm.
But we also took a wire brush on a drill and just scoured the outside of it, used Scotch-Brite and Barkeeper's Friend on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, I still have the paint that I was going to paint mine with. And he was like, "Dude, you can't." It had some cool patina to it. And the wire brush left some pretty cool swirls in it. So went and got the linseed oil and rubbed her down.
I'm pretty jealous. I thought about doing that with my offset that I built, but I didn't. And now that I see yours, I'm a little bummed about it. But
still time, man.
Pretty cool.
Let's see how the surface tool works, and
yeah, that's true.
Maybe we need to strip Rosie down.
Heck yeah, be cool. John, you had a shout out for us this week.
Yeah, I did. There is another podcast here in the Great Wild West of Utah, the Pitmaster podcast that I've listened to off and on, but I was listening to him last week before, right before what do they call it? Was it the Great West Smokeout or something?
The Great American Smokeout, maybe?
Yeah.
Should probably know. I've been looking at the sticker for a long time sitting on my counter, but...
Yeah. So the barbecue competition, they were doing it. They did the steak cook-off the night before, and we're talking about it. I think part of those guys did the competition as well, but the guys on the podcast are the fellows that started Salt City BBQ down in Salt Lake. So very similar kind of topics, and so if you're looking for another podcast, check them out. But was listening to them, they had a couple of frustrations with the competition going into it. It sounds like it was maybe a little chaotic and not quite what everyone thought it was going to be initially.
Yeah, it changed a little bit, and we wondered if we had just read something wrong, but that's a little validating to hear that they were a little frustrated with some things. But yeah, that's cool though. I'm going to have to start. I'd never heard of them before. I saw some people with the Pitmaster shirt up there. I think that there's a Pitmaster supply company in Clearfield or somewhere that my brother likes to go to, and that's cool. I wonder if maybe they're a sponsor or something. I don't know, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So they talk about a lot of the same things. They're bigger onto the KCBS and
yeah. It seemed like a lot of their stuff was competition based, and
yeah, they do a lot of the SCA, the Steak Cooking Association cook-offs, which honestly that sounds kind of cool. I mean, steaks are fun, and I will never say no to a good ribeye.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
So not quite the super long cooks like you do on an offset, but
right. But still fun. And a good skill to have.
Yes.
That's how you impress the in-laws.
Yeah, if you can cook a steak, there's not many people that won't be impressed. And
right.
If they're vegan, you probably don't want to be hanging out with them anyways.
That's true. I like the way you think, John. I like the way you think.
So we've got a group of folks here in town this week for work. We're recording later than we normally do because I was at a dinner with some of these guys, and the first night they were here, we were ordering pizza in and kind of doing a little bit of a social with some of the folks in the office and these guys that were in from out of town. Mm-hmm. I'm ordering pizzas, and I'm getting pepperoni and carnivore and island fire, prosciutto, pizza, all these things. And someone goes, well, do you think any of them are like vegan or vegetarian or something? I was like, well, nobody's told me, so I assume not. But we have one person in the office that is, and it often comes up in conversation. That's how you know.
Were they offended?
No, everyone thought it was hilarious when I said that, so I felt pretty good. It went over much better in person the first time than when I just told you the story, and you were like, oh.
Sure.
Cool.
Good, cool story, John. Nice.
That's how it went over.
Nice.
So, but I guess let's get into it.
Yeah.
I know you weren't excited to have this conversation.
I was not. Okay. Let me preface everything I'm about to say with, we did not do as well as we had hoped, me and my brother. And so all of my viewpoints, I do not mean to talk crap on anything regarding the venue or the way it was organized or anything. I am coming from a position of frustration on my performance as a barbecue champion. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt. So,
well, let's start at the beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
Let's start
as we
at
learn
the very
Sound of Music. Yeah, you get it. I should have known. I shouldn't have had to.
Of course I'm going to go there.
Well done.
So, 4-meat comp. Mm-hmm. Chicken, ribs, pork, brisket.
Yep. Now, one of the frustrating things was when we signed up, we thought that they would be providing the meat because that's what they did last year. And we're not like circuit guys. We don't know what's going on. So we're just like, all right, cool.
Well, it's like this wasn't a KCBS sanctioned event.
Right.
But did they follow KCBS rules?
I don't know what rules they followed. I think so. It seems like it.
Okay.
But they had a very strict rubric for what they were looking for and what you had to do. And so
normal KCBS competitions, they provide the meat because it's another one of those level setting things.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense to me. But they didn't. And so we, we don't have like a butcher. We went to Costco for our meat and it's an amateur competition. We were not, it turned out to be a little more expensive than we thought. We had to get a food handler's permit, which I think is totally valid. But then we also had to get a temporary food establishment permit because they wanted us to be sharing samples with the crowd, which, whatever. But the price was significantly more this year than it was last year, almost double. So that was a bit of a bummer.
Can we talk numbers?
Yeah, it was $50. So
okay.
Last year it was $30. It didn't break the bank, but it was just like, oh,
well,
bummer.
that's what. Plus, it was like $150 to get into the competition.
Yeah, it was spendy. And plus, we had to provide our own meat. And my brother, bless his heart, is the one that provided a lot of, he went to Costco in Ogden where he lives, and he got a lot of the meat, but he ended up getting 9 racks of ribs because he didn't know how much to get. And I was like, oh, that's a lot. We probably don't need that much. So he has some in his freezer for later.
Did they inspect your meat?
No, they said they were going to, but nobody looked at it. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I hope that they're...
Well, it's not a sanctioned event. It's not like it's...
and it is a fundraiser, and we understand that, and so, whatever. But we got there a little bit late that night. So we got there Friday night, and apparently, I don't know, it's kind of a bummer, because last year we were right in the thick of everything. There's a huge, big grassy area. They have teams down one side, teams down the other outside, and then 2 rows of teams in the middle. So you're kind of surrounded by everybody, get to talk to everybody, and just kind of see what everybody's doing. We're just kind of by ourselves over on the end. I think because we got there late, and they just give you whatever is left. So everybody has a 30-foot by 30-foot square, and then you have access to one outlet, which for us wasn't a big deal, but their outlets were like job boxes or whatever. And they kept tripping because everybody was running their pellet grills. And me and my brother just kept saying, man, I'm glad that we are not using our pellet grills because that would be so frustrating.
Did anybody bring in a trailer, a camper trailer?
Yes. So there were a couple of those. The people right next to us had this nice 38-foot long trailer. And I think they had a few sponsors. I didn't know people were going to have sponsors, but whatever. But everybody seemed to kind of know this might be an issue, so almost everybody had their own generator that they were running stuff with. Yeah. But yeah, so we get there and my brother was just kind of there to pick the brisket. It was 5 minutes from my house and I forgot something, so I had to run back and get it, and it was the pork shoulder, so it was kind of an important thing to remember. Left it in the fridge. So anyway, we got there. We just kind of decided we were going to use the offset. We were going to go all in on the offset, which was fun. And honestly, it ran better and more consistently than it ever has. But we just did everything on it, which was a mistake. I think that was kind of our downfall. Just because, brisket and pulled pork kind of cook at similar temperatures, and that would have been fine. But we tried to cook our chicken on it, and so we jacked it up 50 degrees, and I think that is what dried out our brisket and our pork and stuff. So I will say, though, that it was pretty cool. We get there, and we're just going. I trimmed the brisket by headlamp at 9 o'clock as the sun's going down, and I made a mess of it. I wish I would have done that a lot more methodically, but I was just like, we got to get this on, in a huge hurry, Seasoned the brisket with some Holy Cow and some hot barbecue rub from Malcolm Reed. And then we got the brisket on. We just ran hickory the whole time on the offset. So, got it going. Once the brisket was on, then we trimmed the pork shoulder and put it on about right after it. So brisket went on about 10 p.m. Pork shoulder went on about 11, I guess. Have you ever done lollipops?
I haven't. I'm not a big drumstick fan.
I'm not.
So I haven't ever done it. I've seen them. They look really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looked amazing. I'm like you. I'm not a huge... Chicken's fine. I don't hate it, but it's not something that I want to get super creative with. And,
We eat a lot of boneless, skinless thighs around here.
Yeah.
And
I'm a fan of those.
I like those, but they're not competition thighs.
Yeah.
It's just chicken.
Yeah. Chicken is just kind of chicken.
A little juicier, a little fattier than chicken breasts, and
Sure.
that's what we eat.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. So my brother did my brother John, which gets confusing. That's why I keep calling him my brother and not John, because don't want to confuse all our listeners at home. But
Would have been really confusing if I had shown up and done it with you guys.
that's true. Yeah, like you said you're going to, and then you never showed up. That's fine.
And I was not invited.
Okay. We'll talk about this off camera. Anyway, brother John, he did all the cutting and got the lollipops all ready to go, and then we kind of put them in a plastic bag and let them sit overnight, and decided we were going to do our ribs in the morning. So at that point, we just kind of started to we just kind of watched the offset and set some alarms, and we got a couple of cots and slept. We were going to set up a tent and then just figured out we'll just sleep outside, which was a big mistake because of mosquitoes. I mean, we were surrounded by marshlands over there. We should have known. But the mosquitoes were unreal. But once everybody started rolling smoke and stuff, they kind of chilled out a little bit, which was nice. So,
yeah. So, and I know you were down on the end. I don't know if you got a chance to walk around at all. Most people on pellet grills at this. Any other offsets? There
were a few big offsets. I did not get a good chance to walk around. My brother did, but I was babysitting Rosie for most of the time. But a couple of big offsets on trailers, like the one that we're hopefully going to dominate with. But there were, I would say the vast majority were pellet grills. Yeah. So, which I get. I mean, super consistent, less issues that you got to worry about them taking off on you. So,
until the circuit trips and it shuts off in the middle of your cook, man.
And that happened to the guys next to us. Had to borrow our extension cord because the power that they promised them ended up being 200 feet away. So they had to, it was a bit of a mess. And again, I'm not blaming the venue or anything. This is the second year they're doing this, so they're still trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, but I don't remember hearing about all these issues last year.
Yeah.
Well, this particular venue, I've done other events that hosted events for work there. I've often had issues like this.
Really?
Yeah. They do some things really, really, really well. Mm-hmm. And other things, it's just absolutely maddening.
Yeah. Yeah. So. It was obvious it was not a barbecue competition that they do all the time. And,
Yeah. So, and for context, for anyone who's not familiar with the American West Heritage Center, really cool place. If you get a chance,
beautiful place.
Come up, especially in the spring, early April, they do baby animal days, and they bring in all the baby animals, and
they have a train ride, they have pony rides, very old school pioneer.
Yeah, so it's
style stuff.
It is a historical education center.
Yeah,
and they talk about the farming that started this valley, and they've got a little old time store and blacksmithing and. That's the purpose of this facility, and they do a really good job with that.
Yeah.
They also try and it is a non-profit organization. They try and keep the lights on by doing some other events, and they've got sponsors throughout the community that give money and keep this really cool thing going.
Yeah.
But because their focus isn't as a venue, some things can get
Sure.
missed sometimes.
Which I think is understandable,
Yeah.
and I'm not knocking them or anything. But it was a little bit frustrating at times.
I'm sure.
Not for us, but the people around us. We met one of the coolest guys, Brian. His pit name was Brown Chicken Brown Cow.
I'm a
Brown
fan.
Chicken Brown Cow. He was awesome. Like, he's probably my new best friend. Very cool guy.
Is he on the gram?
I looked, I couldn't find him, but he drove up here from Bear Lake, so he works in the mines. He worked nights, so he came up, and really cool guy. But because we were over in the corner together, we got to know each other pretty well, and we'd run things by each other and stuff. And he'd get frustrated because the breaker kept tripping, and we'd get frustrated at different things. So anyway, cool dude though.
There's a Brown Chicken Brown Cow restaurant in Virginia.
Yeah, I don't think that's him, if I had to venture to guess. I think he just came up with that name. I don't know that he's on the gram with it, but really cool guy. I got his number. We should have him on the podcast because he's a sweet dude.
Let's do it. And he works in the mines?
Yeah, works in the mines over there in Kemmer, in Wyoming.
I didn't even know there were mines. What kind of mines are there?
I wish you wouldn't have asked me that because I was just trying to remember. It's not coal mines. Shoot, I don't remember.
I'm looking. Keep talking.
Okay. Anyway, way cool dude. And we had a really good time. But like, he was frustrated because he put like Traeger paper down in his box, in his blind box, and you couldn't put any garnish besides that wasn't edible.
Yeah, KCBS is really specific. I'm trying to remember while you were there, I was like looking up different local events and competitions that, but KCBS, like there's a whole section of the rules that's about presentation and like it lists the type of leafy green vegetables you can use for your garnish.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. So I felt bad for him because he did a great job, but he got disqualified because of his Traeger paper in his box, which I feel like, and he kind of said this too, after the first thing he turned in, it would have been nice for somebody to be like, hey, P.S., you got DQ'd because of your Traeger paper. Maybe don't do that in the next 3 things you're about to turn in.
Yeah.
So, but way cool guy. He did Asian-inspired ribs. So he did, he used fish sauce as a binder, and then he used that Japanese barbecue sauce that we used for the girls. He used that as a glaze. He said it was some of the best Japanese ribs he's ever had. He didn't have any for us because he turned them all into the People's Choice, which is fine. But anyway.
What did he use, like 5 spice or something?
I can't remember what he said as the seasoning. Now that you say that, I know he rubbed it with fish sauce and finished it with that glaze. I can't remember what he said but some kind of an Asian inspired seasoning, which I want to try. Like, I'm pretty into it.
In Kemmer, it's pyrite and coal. I
think it's the pyrite. I think
it sounds like that's what they mine there. I had no idea. I
mean,
makes sense, but
he was. I believe he told us that he was a mechanic and he worked on the mine, so he has built a couple of offsets. He just gets like the extra parts and stuff, builds offsets with them, and then sells them. So he's in the process of building a huge one. He takes the air tanks off of these giant mining machines. And anyway, real cool dude.
We should definitely talk to him.
Yeah, we should connect with him and see if we can get him on. But he took a couple stickers. Hopefully he reaches out to us. But if he doesn't, I got his number.
Yeah, let's definitely talk to him.
So yeah, anyway, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm just running you through my schedule. So let me know if you're looking for something different. Did not sleep very much.
That's the worst part of these. It was the same thing with Irv. Like, we were up at 2 a.m. And right as we fell asleep, here comes the minivan.
Right.
Like, you just, right as you think you're falling asleep, it's like, whoa. That by the time it's all over, just stay clear.
And that's the problem is it was hard to enjoy because at the part where we should have been enjoying the finish and everything, It was like 1,000 degrees outside, and we were
hot
exhausted.
that weekend.
So yeah.
What type of thermometers did you use?
So my brother had, let me look it up really quick. I had my Thermapen, but he borrowed what I believe is a knockoff of Meter.
Was it the Therm Spike?
I don't think
Black and orange one?
No, it was, let's see, I took a picture of it because I'd never heard of it before. Oh crap, now that I say it, I can't find it. Yumly? Yummly?
Can I say?
Yeah. I mean, that's the picture. I didn't look it up or anything, but... And so it just connected to his phone via Bluetooth. So he stuck it in our brisket, we wrapped it, and then it kind of reported ambient temperature to us and stuff, which was nice to have. It's nice to have the offset on wheels because when the wind changes, it completely changes the way that it performs. So we kind of would pull it around and stuff. So we got up in the morning, we trimmed our ribs, seasoned our ribs, and we grossly over seasoned our ribs. Like I had a brand new bottle of the barbecue rub from Malcolm Reed.
His AP rub.
Yeah, and we had been seasoning giant pieces of meat the night before, and so I trimmed and tossed them over to my brother, and he seasoned the ribs. And when he was done with like 3 of the 6 racks that we cooked, he was almost out of rub.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, let's maybe slow down on it. And he was sleep deprived too. I mean, we were both just like, what's happening right now, you know? So anyway, the ribs turned out really good, but I mean, it was like a salt lick. Like it was pretty salty. So
I did that one time.
Yeah.
Before I ever had my smoker, doing ribs on a gas grill, like in a Texas crutch kind of a style. And I did I misread or I don't, anyways, it was so salty, like you could barely eat them.
Yeah. And it's rough on ribs because I mean, pork butt and brisket, I feel like it's hard to over season those. They're such a huge piece of meat.
Well, and you've got the surface area to meat ratios are vastly different.
Yes.
Like it's so different on ribs than it is on a pork shoulder.
Right. So anyway, we seasoned those up, got them on the offset, and even the ribs, I think, would have been just fine with the brisket and the pork shoulder on the offset. We cooked them all about 250. We rotated the ribs every, I think we did 30 minutes. We would spritz them and then we'd rotate them. So the one that was closest to the firebox, we'd move further away and just jump everything up. Knowing now what we learned is as we rotated those, we should have flipped them as well so that the side facing the back was facing the front, because the side towards the firebox got a little bit charred on the bottom. It wasn't a huge deal, but you could definitely tell the difference. So that's one thing that we learned when we went to plate them. And then we threw our chicken on, and that's where things, I mean, sleep deprived, we weren't thinking. We had brought the Weber to do the chicken on just because, I mean, non-sleep deprived Mike and brother John were like, oh yeah, that'll make more sense because we cook it at a different temperature. Sleep deprived Mike and John are like, let's just throw it on there.
Start another fire.
Exactly. So we threw those on and jacked up the temperature, and that screwed everything else. The chicken was okay. It was fine. We didn't really care about the chicken, to be honest with you. We were just like, whatever. It looked awesome. The whole lollipop thing looked great. And we bought...
Did you have a hanger to, like, set the salt?
No. We did... We cooked them in a foil pan. Then we took them off. We got some Champion Blues Hog barbecue sauce. You ever use that?
I haven't used it, but
I got a gallon of it. So if you want some, let me know. I didn't want to run out, and we used like a cup of it maybe.
How do you like it?
It's good. It's different. I don't know. It's fine. It's competition. Like there's some vinegary elements to it and stuff.
I love vinegar on pork.
You might like it. So, and it was fine. But, so we took the chicken, we cooked it until it was about 165, and then we took them and just dipped them. I had one of those like, kind of like a tray. It was a Blackstone liner for the drip pan, almost like a loaf pan.
Yeah.
And so I heated the sauce up in that. It's kind of nice. Just put it on top of the firebox and it heated up, which was nice. Didn't have to use any grill space or open up the grill. And then we opened it up and we took the chicken and just dipped it in there and put it on a wire rack and then put it back in to finish. Like 2 of them fell over as they were finishing. The rest of them really did pretty well.
So you put them in standing up?
Yeah, we put them in standing up. So
cool.
It turned out really good, actually. They looked awesome. We over-seasoned those as well. Again, sleep deprived. In hindsight, we should season everything the night before so that we're not trying to do it on a half-hour sleep.
What'd you season the chicken with?
What did we use for the chicken? I think we used Malcolm Reed's hot barbecue rub.
Okay.
And a little AP rub. I think that's all we used on that. I wanted to use that garlic junkie. Because I used it on some chicken earlier in the week, but I just wasn't familiar with it, and I was like, I don't know, I'll just stick to what I know. So,
well, that's a really strong, distinct rub,
right?
That I don't know how that'd do with a barbecue sauce.
I agree. I don't think it would blend very well with at least that barbecue sauce. Maybe there's one that it would go with, but it's delicious by itself.
Speaking of Malcolm Reed. I've been listening to his podcast.
Love it.
I've listened to it before, but it's been a while. So it was fun to get back into some of his stuff. He just came out with is coming out with a 0 sugar barbecue sauce.
Oh, really? I've not heard this.
I haven't. I hadn't either, but he talked about one of the really popular brands of that. I think it's G. Hughes. The sugar-free barbecue sauce, and like there's a real strong like artificial sweetener flavor to it, which like it's hard to avoid, but
right.
He's according to your boy Malcolm, like he's figured it out.
Well,
which I think
in Malcolm
awesome.
We trust, man. He knows stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to try and get my hands on some.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Chicken.
Yep.
So the chicken turn-in was $12.30. Ribs were $1.30. Pork was $2.30. Brisket was $3.30.
And that's kind of late too for turn. Like it's funny. KCBS, when I was reading the rules, like it talks about like standard turn-in times start at noon, and it's like every 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and I will say we got there the night before, threw it on at 10 p.m. There were guys rolling up at 6, 7 a.m. who hadn't even gotten their brisket yet.
Going hot and fast.
Yeah, that were just going for it.
Could you tell where the briskets came from? Or
they were donated by JBS, but that's all we know. They didn't have how much they weighed or anything on the package. It was just wrapped. So, yeah.
How decent briskets?
It was fine. I don't know. I've seen a lot better. But that being said, we got there late, and so I think a lot of people had already picked over because they just said, here you go, pick one. So I think a lot of people had already gotten theirs. My brother said there were like 6 or 7 when he went to pick his. So,
that's so hard.
Yeah, it was a bummer, man. Like I was telling John, like 2 weeks ago, I cooked one of the best briskets I've ever had in my life. I was feeling really confident going into the competition, and then just too many variables and stuff you can't control. But the chicken is what killed us because it was the first thing to turn in. So we cranked up the temperature for an hour or two.
Yeah.
And then tried to bring it back down. Our ribs were charred on the side of the firebox. Our pork turned out okay. Our brisket got overdone. And it was super bummer.
What were you using? You said hickory. Where'd you get your hickory from?
I got it from Home Depot. I just got 2 bags of their mini logs of hickory, just because I knew it was there.
I think it's so cool that Home Depot started carrying that.
Yeah, and I hope that they keep doing it because I'm a huge fan of that hickory. Like, and it burns consistently. It burns hot. You can kind of plan. Some of the other stuff that I've gotten, like, we just grabbed some from a local orchard guy who was just getting rid of some. It's hard to predict. Doesn't catch as easy.
Well,
I think this stuff was probably just more seasoned and ready
if it
to
hasn't
go.
cured in season.
Yeah.
Dude, we're going to have to make a run down to Salt Lake to
We should.
do a truckload of
Also, because that price is way better than, I mean, we went through 1 and probably 3/4 of bags of hickory from Home Depot, and they're $30 each. So it was a bit of a spendy fuel consumption, but anyway, we turned in, we got done. We were just ready to be done at that point, and kind of bummed at the results. And I don't even remember what they were, but we were in the bottom half. We were not the very bottom, but we were in the bottom half, which kind of put a sour taste in my mouth for competition barbecue, just because we had worked so hard, and then and we both said, like, this is not our best work. Like, we did not submit anything thinking that's the one we're gonna win, but it was just like, that was a lot of work to then sit and wait for results. And there were like 80 ties, which makes me think maybe you should rethink the way that you're scoring things. So we had to wait for them to figure all that out. It was probably 5 or 6 o'clock by the time they finally gave us the results. And it was just kind of a bummer. Same teams, I know a lot of guys were sponsored, which is kind of like, I mean, whatever, more power to them for going out and getting that. But it's like, most of us were just a lot of blue collar workers that were just like, yeah, let's do this. This sounds fun, And then you got people that were sponsored, didn't have to pay for their meat or their entry, and were just there, a little less stress. And so it was kind of a bummer,
No. One of the things Pitmasters talked about in their podcast is, like, there are a lot of folks that's the type of competition they do. They do maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, like, the pros who, they're doing 20 competitions a year and traveling the country. And, they do 3 cooks a week trying to get it dialed in and get it perfected so that they can be like, that one's money.
Right.
I know what this one's going to do. I know what that's going to do. And
right.
I mean, I've cooked a lot of pork shoulders in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think, like, I could get it that dialed in.
Right. Well, and I mean, they're so dialed in to the point where they use their own rubs. They use their own sauce. Mm-hmm. I mean, we bought the stuff we like off the shelf, Yeah. So didn't expect to win, but it was pretty disheartening to do so low. Again, I understand the mistakes that we made. But it's just kind of a bummer,
But they were all improvements on last year, right?
Yeah, we did better than we did last year. But I mean, last year, this year compared to last year, we kept saying, like, this is significantly less stressful. Like, we have an idea of what we're doing. We're less just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. We had a pretty good system. So, yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I'm not dying to do it again, especially after just how tired I was and how poor we did. It was just like, man, why are we doing this? But I'm sure I'll probably get back up on the wagon next year. Yeah. Because it's fun. I mean, I love cooking for people. It was a good opportunity to just kind of compare my skills to other people's, you know what I mean? But I feel like a competition is not, I don't know. It's just so different. Like, it's not a time to, like, experiment, have fun with different flavors. No, like, they are looking for this, and this. Make the color look like this. Make the taste look like this. And so it's hard to, I don't feel like, and maybe if you're really good you can, but it's hard to, like, have a lot of fun with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd love to know, Brown Chicken Brown Cow, like, had he not been disqualified?
Right.
Like, how would those, like, Asian ribs
exactly
have done? Like,
something different. How would that have been received by the judges, or would they have been like, nah?
Yeah, I've heard, like, I've listened to teams talk about that before. Like, when you do competition, like, there's a reason we call them competition ribs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say competition ribs, everybody knows what that looks like. They know what it smells like. They know what it tastes like.
Right.
Because you're not trying to like be creative and like do your best work. You're trying to do work that the judges will think is the best.
Exactly. You're almost trying to mimic what they want. And it's less fun that way. I mean, it's fun because this was the first like sporting event that I've competed in a long time. So that the competition aspect is fun. I don't know what I want out of it, like it
Sponsors, money,
yeah,
fame,
that's true.
Fortune.
That is true. Could have done with the prize money, but
yeah, invitation to Memphis in May.
Yeah, heck yeah, that'd be sweet. Anyway, it was, again, I'm not trying to talk crap on anybody. It was a fundraiser. Most of the workers were volunteers.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to crap on the competition or the venue or anything or the way it was run, but I came away a little bit frustrated and just kind of didn't love it as much as I had hoped that I would, which a lot of it, like I said, was my own doing and the way that I performed. So,
well,
but
that's a very responsible way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I guess in the beneficiary, it's the Logan Food Bank.
The food pantry. Yeah. So they and we talked to the guy. I actually went to high school with the guy that was kind of helping run it. I don't know if he's the assistant director of the food pantry or
what's
what.
His name?
Jake Netzley?
He's not the director.
No, Matt Whitaker is the director.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say Matt buys pellets from us.
Yeah, good guy. Really good guy. I had a couple of his kids in my class. He's a good guy. But Jake was there and we were just talking with him. He says, they try to make as much as they can, and then they end up splitting it 50-50 with the Heritage Center and the food pantry. So they make a little bit of money, but it kind of isn't as much as you'd hope.
Yeah, stick it to pantry. American Heritage Center. Let's go find a city park next year and do it at American Heritage Center's got all sorts of corporate sponsors.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But, yeah. Like I say, it was good. Am I going to become a pro competition circuit? I don't think so. I'd rather just cook for people for fun and enjoy it a little bit and experiment and talk about it with you. But it was a good experience, and it's, any excuse to do barbecue is a win. But, yeah. So.
Well, cool, man. Well, I'm glad you did it. Totally understand the frustrations, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's valid. And, hopefully Jake and Matt hear some of it, and I'm sure they're getting it from all sorts of different places.
Right.
And it's hard, like, anytime you do an event or really anything, like, everyone's got an opinion, and it's... Mm-hmm.
Well, and I know that there's so much that goes into the planning, and so it's hard to be critical of that because,
well, you're being really, like, respectful and nice and, like, understanding about it. I think the trick is, as someone who's planned a lot of, like, not barbecue events, but, like, events and, like, done different things, like, you have to take that and then iterate on it and get better.
Yeah.
If it's the same thing again year after year, like, that's when events die.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense. So, anywho.
Well.
There it is.
Next year we'll have a big trailer smoker.
Yes.
I will bring my camp trailer.
There we go.
With a big generator.
I like where this is going.
We'll run the AC all night.
Yep. I'm on board. No, it would be fun. It'd be fun to have a Fat Guys with Smokers team. I was hoping to do... Oh, I forgot. I saw our buddy Josh Toon from RIP Barbecue. Yeah, he stopped by. Great guy. And he was awesome. Hey, we're headed to Maverick. Do you want us to run grab you something before results? So nice. Unfortunately, I'd had like 4 or 5 people from my family bring me a Maverick drink at that point.
I tried
and I was shaky.
Yeah, I tried to, and you turned me down.
Yeah,
I was like,
I know. I was shaky. I was like, you know what I probably need is water because it's 100 degrees, and I've had like gallons of Diet Mountain Dew. But anyway, great guy. Josh, appreciate it. I mean, he stopped by and talked to me for a minute. I just was so sleep deprived. I hope I didn't offend him or anything, but it was very nice. Just asked us how things went. Offered a Maverick drink. Great guy, so R.I.P. barbecue. I was going to ask him, too, about his plans, if he's building, if he's cooking, but I didn't get a chance. When I turned around, he was gone. So,
Nice.
Anywho.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, until next year when we dominate the competition. Pro sponsors.
Heck yes.
Who's going to sponsor us?
Meat Church.
Meat Church and Malcolm Reed.
Yes. By their powers combined. I am Captain Planet.
I am Captain Barbecue.
That'd be sweet.
And with that, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
This is Fat Guys with Smokers. Thanks for listening to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't forget to tune in for even more nonsense from a couple of Fat Guys with Smokers.
Don't forget to like, subscribe.